This is the second video for Excel Basics Part 1, and we are beginning on item G in the instruction page. And so item G is talking about merging, centering, text wrap, date, time, and decimal designations. And so upon inspection of this sheet, this is the same sheet we were using inside of the Part 1 video, notice that some of the data is not visible or centered. And so these items right here are not visible all the way, and we touched on this just a bit in the first video. Also notice that monthly bills, this seems to be the title of this overall chart or table, and notice that it's not centered. Also, look at some things like the second decimal place in row 4, and the dollar signs are missing on all of the dollar values. So see that we have 1239.86 in B3, but in B4 we have 705.5. So 2 decimal places here and only 1 decimal place here. And so you may want some consistency. You may want it to look the same all the way across, because again, these are dollar amounts. These are monthly bills, so this is a budget, and we could have dollar signs and have the same number of decimal places and such. So first, let's merge and center the title, monthly bills. And so we can highlight A1 to F1. You can do this a couple of ways. Again, you can click on A1, hold Shift, and then click on F1, or click and hold the left mouse button down and drag, highlighting A1 to F1. Now notice that A1, it looks like it's not highlighted because it's not gray, but if you look at this green box around this area, the first item you select oftentimes is not going to be gray or highlighted like the others, but it is technically selected and technically is highlighted because the green box is housing all of these cells. So we can click here and we can click on the button Merge and Center. And so this is right up here at the top. Kind of under this view, it's in the alignment area, and if you click on merge and center, notice what happens. All of a sudden this has become one cell. So instead of having A1, B1, C1, D1, E1, F1, we now have one merged cell, and the title of this table or chart, monthly bills, is now centered. So it did both of those things simultaneously. So next we can make the data in column A visible, either by widening column A or by wrapping text. And so we talked about how to widen column A in the previous video, but I want to show you how to wrap the text now. And so again, we are missing some text here and here, 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 and here, and all these items. And if you click on the cell, you can see what the text is in the formula bar, but we want this to be presentable without people having to click on the separate items. And so what we can do is we can select A3 all the way down to A9. So again, I'm going to click and drag. And then to wrap the text, we want to just click on the Wrap Text button in the alignment menu. So again, alignment, and we can click on Wrap Text, which was right above the Merge and Center. And all of a sudden, what it's going to do is it's going to kind of vertically expand each of these rows. Now notice it's going to vertically expand 6 more, because there are more words here, more spaces needed to display all the words, than it is going to be for row number 3. And so you'll have a little bit of a discrepancy in the size, and you can play around with this by dragging, again, that space between the A and the B if you want to, and you can make these more similar inside. And how much you drag is purely aesthetic, so it's purely based on what is your audience, who is going to be looking at this, and what makes it easier to see the material you're trying to present. So the next item let's look at is let's play around with these dates. So we have 1-AUG for the 1st of August, but we can display this in a different way by highlighting these date. So we're highlighting B2 all the way to F2. And then what we can do is we can select the drop-down menu in the number area. So here we have number, and you can click on this drop-down menu. And notice you have several items right here. So we have just numbers, currencies, which we'll use shortly, short date, long date, percentages, and times. But what we want to do is we want to select one of the dates because these items are date. And so let's click on short date, and you can see what that's going to look like. So that's going to give you this 8/1/2024, 9/1/2024, so forth and so on. And of course you could do the long date as well and see what that looks like, and that really spreads things out, but that's the day of the week for you. I'm going to set this as the short date though for my particular purposes. So notice that all of a sudden these columns B, C, D, E, and F are much wider. And so what happened is when we changed it to the long date, it widened the columns. And if we do not want that to be the case, we have a couple of options. You can hold down the control button and press Z on your keyboard, or you can press this back arrow to undo the formatting. And we can do that twice, and now we're back to the original widths that we have. So if you ever do anything inside of Excel that you want to undo or redo, undo, click the back arrow. To redo it, you can click the forward arrow. All right, now finally, we want to be looking at all of these dollar amounts, the costs on this budget for the monthly bills, and we want to change this to have dollar signs and have the same number of decimals and such to look more like money so that people know, again, you're trying to cater this to your audience so they know more of what you're talking about. So we can select B3, click and hold, and then we can drag all the way down to F9, and then we can release the left button on the mouse. Again, we can use this drop-down menu, click on it, and we can click on currency. And again, it gives you a preview. It's going to give a dollar sign, commas where they belong, and 2 decimal places. And notice once we do that, dollar values are added. This 705.5 is what it was before, is now 705.50. So now we have the 2 decimal places, and everyone can see that these are dollar amounts. So now all of a sudden our chart or table is making a little bit more sense to a reader, to a new reader who doesn't have all of the background information. They can look at this and they can figure out more of what's going on now with proper dates and all of the words visible and dollar signs and decimals.